Good morning, my movie-loving brothers and sisters. Thank you for joining us on this Monday morning on the Screen Talk Live YouTube channel where we talk about all things movie, TV, and screen-related news. I'm, of course, your humble host, Keith Toothman. I'm joined today by my co-host and colleague, Shane Wallace. Shane, how are you doing this time on this Monday morning?
Doing great. Beautiful fall weather. Had a wonderful weekend. It was my 10-year wedding anniversary yesterday, so great weekend.
Awesome. Yes, weather is great. It has been awesome weather around here. I love it. Guys, don't forget, if you're new around here, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you can have your movie news when you need it, where you need it. And how we're going to start things off today is just quickly we're going to talk to Shane about Werewolf by Night since he hasn't got a chance to give us his thoughts on it. But over the weekend, I'll quickly give you my thoughts on it. We seen it on Thursday night, and we did talk about it on the show on Friday if you want to go check that out. But again, quickly, my thoughts on it were I loved it. It was really nice to get something good from the MCU. And I said that it was the best thing MCU that we've gotten all year. Agree that isn't saying much because we haven't got a lot of good things from the MCU this year. But that being said, I'm glad we got what we got. I love the black and white. I love the goriness of it. I love the feel of the old school horror. I really enjoyed just the newness of it, that we hadn't had anything that kind of felt this way. And I really enjoyed that. And again, when it was a nice reminder that when the MCU is working well, that it's great. It's good for the fans. It's good for us. And that's why as fans and pundits, we want to sit around and talk about these things because when they're good, guys. And to me, in my opinion, this is a good example of it. So now I'm going to kick it over to Shane. Shane, you had a chance. We haven't seen you in here since, Wednesday last week. So you had a chance to see Werewolf by Night. What are your thoughts?
I did. And
you said it's the best thing you've seen out of Marvel all year. And I'm having to think, have I seen anything from Marvel all year? I think this is really the first thing that I've watched, and it was fun. I put it on. It was okay. I'm not as hyped on it. I mean, it did look great. I did really appreciate the black and white. Some of the stuff they did with the black and white too was very reminiscent to old Universal. So that was nice. Some of the cookies cutouts for the lighting, so that way you get all these great shapes of shadow on the floor and against the wall, all very creative, very nicely done. But at the end of the day, it felt just, standard Marvel, to be quite honest. It was okay. Let's just say that. I had my problems with it, but I don't regret watching it.
So I mean, what was your favorite thing about it? How about that?
Definitely the black and white. I thought that looked great. I wish they would have done more. I think, again, expectations get in the way a little bit, right? I was expecting this very, cool nod to old film, and it was a little bit, but, some of the stuff I missed out, like, a lot of the backgrounds were just gray walls, and, a lot of times when you talk about, old Hollywood films or old Universal, like the Universal horror films, there was a lot of matte paintings, where you'd see, the castle on the hill or, and there was none of that, In fact, there's a part where Werewolf by Night talks about how, hey, you don't have to worry, there's no full moon. And I had that thought. I was like, well, I haven't even seen the moon all movie. Maybe that's something that they should have incorporated in for a werewolf movie is see a shot of it. And, something else werewolf movies are very known for, starting with the Lon Chaney original Universal werewolf movie, was the transformation, right? And seeing it in real time and seeing like the hands and the claws grow. Yeah. And then we even get that, in American Werewolf in London. And then, even in movies like Teen Wolf, there's always some sort of werewolf transformation. This werewolf transformation was hidden with fog and lights, and again, it was an opportunity that I thought that was set up perfectly. It's like, oh, here comes the transformation, and it was done in a way that was hidden. And again, it's a choice, and that's a very popular horror choice. But within terms of werewolf movies, it's a trope to see the werewolf change, and so I felt like we missed out on that. I also, felt like the stakes at the end were completely dashed when Man-Thing busts back in. for that nice comedic element.
Oh, yeah.
And it made me think, well, why did Werewolf by Night even need to be here? He just made things work. He could have just busted out of the wall himself.
Right.
You know, what's
Right.
keeping Man-Thing even
Right.
around?
Good
you know,
point.
but
Good point.
you know, whatever. It was fun. It looked great, and again, you know, it was enjoyable. I'm glad it was as short as it was. I don't think I would have wanted to sit through 90 more minutes.
Yeah, so this wouldn't have. This is one of those examples where it would have been a terrible feature film or a terrible series. Like, you wouldn't want either one of those. I mean, they really did know what they were going for, though. I'll give them that. That they hit that sweet spot. I mean, it was just long enough for me to enjoy it any more, any less, and I wouldn't have enjoyed it as much as I did probably. But I did love the Man-Thing stuff, you know. I love the design of him. I know, of course, it's all CG, but it's 2022, so I can sit back and enjoy the way that some of these things look nowadays. You know, I talk often about the 2004 Man-Thing movie and how much I love it, and it's all more practical, and it looks great and is awesome too. But it's so cool to have this like actual big CG crazy looking version of Man-Thing, I think so. But yeah, so what'd you guys think? I haven't heard too many things from you guys. Let us know down in the comments. Have you guys had a chance to see Werewolf by Night yet? Are you guys feeling like Shane, or are you guys feeling more like me? Let us know down in the comment section below what you guys are thinking. We're going to move on to our second main topic today. And our second main topic, we want to talk about something that we talked about last week, which is Hocus Pocus 2. So last week, Shane, you know, you were here. We talked about how Hocus Pocus 2 is now the biggest Disney Plus streaming movie ever released on their streaming app. And so with all the buzz behind it, you know, we were like, oh, we got to go check this movie out. So we haven't talked about this at all, so I'm pretty excited to do that. Shane, I watched Hocus Pocus 2, and I watched it with my wife and daughter, and it was definitely and by far the worst movie I've seen all year.
Really?
It was horrible, guys. It was exhausting. The last thing I remember was when it ended, that me and my wife simultaneously let out a sigh of relief of, thank God that's over. Look, I will say this, and I told you this, Shane, is that my favorite part about the movie, the one redeeming quality it has, is that seeing Bette Midler and is it Sarah Jessica Parker and seeing those three ladies back was awesome. It was really cool to see them out there. They looked like they were having a blast, and it looked like it was a lot of fun to be made. I'm sure this movie is probably better, you know, suited for children or younger audiences, and probably not for me, but I gave it a go, and man, it really was just awful. Like, I wanted to like it so much, and but I also wanted to shut it off the whole way going through. So yeah, so that's my thoughts on Hocus Pocus 2. I mean, there was some things that I thought were, you know, good about it. I like the cast. I like, you know, the people they brought in that aren't from the original. I enjoyed them. Even the main girl. I mean, I didn't mind them. I thought that they did well. Some of the stories just kind of a little too stupid for me, you know. You got these great, powerful witches that are just
morons.
Yeah. Too stupid to make it to the next night, you know. But they have all the power at the palm of their hands. I loved how the book was kind of like Mjolnir. You know, she could just call it over to her. I loved that. There's little things, like I said, that I did enjoy about it. I also liked how the book, you know, kind of had emotions, and they gave it, you know, emotions into the end of the movie, you know, spoilers, when things happen, the book cries and stuff. I thought that was kind of cool and unique. And
we also saw the book sweating too.
Yes, right. When she's looking for him, right? He's perspirating because he doesn't want to be found. I thought that was great. I mean, there was things in there I liked, but again, overall, honestly, it was definitely just the worst movie I've seen all year. I mean, and I would like to preface that by saying over the weekend, I went back and watched the original Tremors, and of course we know Tremors is one of the best movies of its day, of its kind, and it was so good. I thought, well, I want to go watch whatever the newest Tremors is. I haven't seen Tremors since I was 13, you know. So I found this movie called Tremors Shrieker Island, and it stars John Heater. I was telling you about it a little bit, and they bring back Bert from the original movie and a couple other characters. And honestly, I had a blast with it, and it really emphasized to me how bad Hocus Pocus 2 really is, because I don't need a lot. And I didn't get what I needed from this movie to enjoy it enough, guys. Shane, you had a chance to check out Hocus Pocus 2. I haven't heard your thoughts on it at all, but I'm very intrigued. What'd you think, buddy?
I didn't mind it as much as you did. I thought it drug in a lot of places, especially towards the end. I just remember thinking, just end already. And they had this problem of repeating things over and over again. It's like, okay, we're back to this person, and they got to explain the same thing again. So I think that's also extended it. But to be quite honest, I didn't mind it as much as you did. I actually enjoyed it better than Werewolf by Night. But I also didn't think it was, that great either. But I did have a better time, I guess, even though by the last 20, 30 minutes, I'm just like, please end this already.
Worn out. That's how I felt.
But I liked all the stuff they added to it. And, like you said, the additional characters, what is it, Gilbert the Great or whatever. He was hilarious.
He was great. I love that guy.
Yeah, and, the mayor, the guy who played the mayor, that was terrific.
The guy from Arrested Development.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was great. I love that. See, again, I love the cast. I really did.
Yeah, and, so I liked all the stuff they added to it. You have this, sub-story about these girls finding out one of them's a witch. So I kind of like that element. We're bringing in, it's not just a rehash of the first film. Mm-hmm. So I did enjoy that, but I just thought it took too long to do anything. Mm-hmm. I thought, a good example would be, these two girls are trapped in the stairs, and we had this foreshadowing moment at the beginning of the movie where if you burn this spice, it gets rid of curses. Well, they're trapped in this basement, and they have no stairs. And immediately I'm thinking, burn the spice. And eventually they get to that point. But that scene that probably should have only been maybe a couple minutes, it was like a 10-minute scene. It was like everybody that was watching was just like, yeah, burn the stupid thing already. Get out of there. We get it. So it just, you could tell that the creators really wanted to honor the characters, the movie, and really went into depth of who some of these side characters were. And that was nice, but maybe it was too drawn out and you went a little extreme. I think, if it have another edit to it, take out 20 minutes or so of that movie, I think that we'd probably be talking about a really good movie.
Yeah, I agree 100%. That especially on the idea that as it started to drag on again, that it just became like a marathon, and that I was just becoming more and more exhausted. And this month specifically is definitely not a feeling we want to feel, because what I want to feel is what I felt after watching Tremors, which was cool, more of this, more of anything, just and then it made me watch another one, and I loved it, and I want to keep that spiral going on, because when I hit a movie like Hocus Pocus, it fatigues me on movies, and it's like, I need a break now for a minute. But when a movie is really good, I'll watch another one right away, like immediately. Like that's what I did with Tremors. Like I watched the newest one right when it was over. So you hate to see that. I'm glad that you enjoyed it a little bit. It definitely wasn't better than Werewolf by Night. It wasn't even close to the same level for me, that's for sure. But
I just was not a big fan of Werewolf by Night. There were too many moments that they hampered the story by sitting around and talking about their feelings on characters that I didn't care about. And so, they tried to build these stakes that we didn't care about. And then they also tried to build the stakes. And then after 20 minutes of the movie, they do a twist and, those aren't really the stakes. So it's like, okay, well, what is this about? Oh, we got to sit and explore our feelings. And I just wanted something campy, fun, and horrific. Yeah.
See, I like the twist. I like that you mean the twist that we find out that, this main character is the Werewolf by Night.
Oh, right? That was so obvious. I don't think that was a twist at all.
Really? Oh, yeah. Well, for me watching it, I definitely didn't catch that until, after we met Man-Thing and after it was.
Well, how they set it up, so they're on this monster quest to kill this monster. So initially you're just like, oh, it's Werewolf by Night. We're coming into Werewolf by Night. I can't wait to see. This is going to be cool. And then you get to the point where you find out that it's not that's not the monster. It's not Werewolf by Night. I don't want to spoil. I'm terrible at spoiling things, so I really apologize out there. That's just like, man, Shane can go straight to hell. But we find out it's not only that it's not Werewolf by Night, but it's not even a monster. In fact, it's this lovable character.
Yeah.
And so then instantly,
Whoa, monster to who though, Shane? Because I mean,
he looks horrific, but
because he's a monster to somebody, maybe not to us. Now,
he looks like a monster.
For sure.
He's very much Frankenstein in that vein. misunderstood, gentle giant.
Sure.
So instantly I'm just like, okay, well, that's not Werewolf by Night. So where's Werewolf by Night? We're halfway through this thing. Oh, it must be our main character. That's who it is.
Yes.
So, it wasn't even a twist at that point. So maybe that's why
I figured it out. I think you got to stay up until 2 a.m. because then you get like a little grogginess going, and you kind of forget even the title because I didn't even remember what we were watching. I was just into it, and I'm watching it, and I was tired, and I'm thinking, I hope this ends soon. and then when the twist happened, when we found out he was the werewolf, and I'm like, oh, whoa, thought it was going to be Man-Thing. I didn't even know, But anyways, back on topic, Hocus Pocus 2, it definitely isn't. It isn't something I would ever watch again. I mean, I'm glad that people like it. It did also, guys, it kind of set up. What I did like about it, I enjoyed a lot, and you brought this up, was that it introduced a new witch. But actually, it introduced a new coven, right? Mm-hmm. Because now you have the 3 witches. You have the 2 without powers and the 1 that's powerful. That's exactly what the sisters are. Mm-hmm. So moving forward, we could potentially get, another Hocus Pocus style movie, but with, these younger girls as the new covenant or something like that. They also kind of alluded to that there could be a third one of these coming back, right? Which would be the worst idea ever, right? But if not, it's one of those for why questions, right? But if they did it, it's no longer for why because we know now why, right? It's the biggest Disney Plus movie ever in the history of streaming for them. So of course I could see them doing another one. And honestly, to be 100% fair, if they were to do a third one, I probably would end up checking it out if it came out around this time, around Halloween time. It may be worth checking out again just because my daughter may enjoy it or my wife may enjoy it. But yeah, guys, you had a chance to check out Hocus Pocus 2 yet? What do you guys think? Let us know down in the comment section. Is it something you guys enjoyed? Is it better than the first one? A lot of the critics' reviews and audience reviews are enjoying it a lot more. So let us know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Okay, our third main topic that we want to talk about today is something that's near and dear to my heart and that I grew up with, and that's Austin Powers. So most of you guys here probably know, any good film fan knows, who the Austin Powers franchise. So I believe the first one came out in 97, 98, the International Man of Mystery, right?
I think 96, if I had to guess.
96? Okay. Yeah. I remember being maybe like 5 or 6 when I went to see it, and then I was probably maybe 10 or 11 when I seen the second one in theaters. And then by the time Goldmember came out, I was probably like in middle school or something like that. But I enjoyed all those movies. I love those movies. I mean, one of the hardest times I've ever laughed in my entire existence, Shane, is I believe in the second one. It may be the third one, but I believe it's the second one, The Spy Who Shagged Me, is he gets in one of those little yellow cart things in Dr. Evil's lair, and he needs to turn around in this hallway. And he just keeps...
Oh, that's the first one.
Oh, is it?
They might revisit again in the second one.
And they should, because my little 8-year-old brain, or however old I was, could not stop laughing. That was one of the hardest times I've ever laughed in my entire life. It was so stupid, but it just kept going on, too. Like, they didn't just end it quickly. Or another one of my favorite ones is when Will Ferrell... falls off the side of the cliff as his character, and he's like down there. So he's like, "I'm still down here, and I'm hurt very badly."
So good! What a great cameo!
And it just keeps going on. Like they turn to walk away. There's now wolves approaching me. Someone please help quickly! I love it. I love those movies a lot.
I think that was pre-SNL for Will Ferrell too. I think he was a nobody at that point, just a comic in LA.
Yeah, for sure. It really was. And When I think about it, it stands out as one of his like great performances to me, Will Ferrell. But yeah, so this is coming to us from over at Yahoo, possibly. Here we go. So this is what Mike Myers said. I want to read this exact quote. So he was on the what's his name?
Jimmy Fallon.
The Jimmy Fallon show, right? And so this is an exact quote. He says, quote, "I don't have anything to announce. I can neither confirm nor deny the existence or non-existence of such a project." And again, this is on the topic of Austin Powers 4. He said, adding, "Yeah, I would love to do it. Of course, it's fun. But I have 3 kids under the age of 11. I've been super, super busy being a dad. I'll see what I can do," Jimmy Fallon. And this is kind of cool, man, we in the world we live in, Shane, we're always talking about here, it's IP driven now in this movie world that we live in, and television world and screen world. And so, I mean, what IP is as big and well known as, Austin Powers especially when it comes to that comedy, kind of thing. And you got this kind of James Bond comedy spy thriller. I think this would work in today's world, and I think people would revisit it. Like I told Shane, I don't know if this is something you put in theaters and that people go out and just want to see. Maybe. See, that's the thing with this genre material, right? Because you just don't know. Because, you would have told me a year ago that was going to happen with Top Gun and that people were going to flock out and it was going to be $1 billion movie. I would have laughed at you. I would have looked you right in your face and laughed and been like, "You freaking 80s kid, get out of here." But the truth is, look at it now. I mean, and who would have thought, It's the biggest movie of the year, right?
Mm-hmm.
So could Austin Powers do well at the box office? Maybe. But all I'm saying is it seems to me to be one of those great kind of, it's coming to streaming and let's watch it when it comes out, first day on streaming kind of thing. But either way, Shane, you had a little bit to think about Austin Powers. Well, first off, tell us your thoughts on the Austin Powers trilogy, how you like them, and then your thoughts on the idea of possibly having a Austin Powers 4.
Well, I'm a big Austin Powers fan. I grew up with the series. I think if it came out in '96, I would have been 13. So it hit me right at the right moment. If we're talking about some of our favorite moments, I'll never forget the first one. Whenever it's the ship looks like a giant penis. 97. Okay, so I was 14, and so you have all these cuts to
Johnson.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, I laughed for days and days and days on that. But there were so many great moments. I remember in the second one, when we get introduced to Mini-Me, and then they go into the Just the Two of Us song.
Oh, in prison?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a hard knock life.
Oh, I think that's the third one.
Okay, yeah. Oh, Just the Two of Us. I know what you're talking about. Yes.
And so, there's all these great moments that will always live with me because they hit so hard back when they hit. So I would always be on board with an Austin Powers 4 movie. Now, will it work? I mean, I think the appeal of Austin Powers there's a couple of different appeals. One was when they were made, it was a raunchier time. And the 60s that they're, alluding to, was also a, different time, so a lot of the jokes that could play in the 60s or the 90s probably aren't going to play here. So he's probably going to have to find a new approach. And it's also that Captain America story where, he wakes up defrosted, so it's a man out of time story.
Right.
Well, now what's happened? He's lived here for 20 years, and so he's just like me, I guess.
He's even got the super soldier serum, right? The red mojo,
right? The mojo, I love it. But so what's he been doing? Is he works at Walmart? I mean,
right?
it does. So there's some appeal of what's he been doing, but we were talking about this earlier. I think a better one to revisit would be Wayne's World. What's Wayne Campbell been up to for the last 30 years? Here's a man-child that was already, too old to be acting how he is. How funny would it be the 60-year-old now who's party on, Garth? So I think that there's possibly better Mike Myers IP properties out there. And also we're talking about a rumor, but if it was set on the Jimmy Fallon show and Jimmy Fallon was able to bring back Saved by the Bell, I bet he could also bring back Austin Powers 4. And I'd probably be a sucker enough to watch it because, yes, I did love the original trilogy very much so.
Yeah, and Fat Bastard.
Oh yeah.
I mean, fat bastard. Guys, this is one of the best characters ever written.
Was this before Eddie Murphy was doing all the characters?
I mean, when did he start doing that?
That was like
Nutty Professor?
was Nutty Professor, and he also
So that
had
would be
another
before
one.
that.
Nutty Professor came out before Austin Powers.
No, Austin Powers would be before Nutty
So
Professor.
this was like the first one since like Peter what's his name?
I'm sorry, I'm wrong. Nutty Professor came out in 96.
There you go.
So, a year before.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
you know, it was one of those films at that time where you know, they're the main characters playing all these different flamboyant different characters, and those were a lot of fun. In fact, there's that great joke in Tropic Thunder where Jack Black's character, he's that type of actor where his movie he plays like all the family members, the fartnoids or whatever it is.
Oh,
but
it's a terrible movie. That's not a real movie.
no,
though,
it's not a
but
real movie.
If it ever was,
I'm surprised it
terrible movie.
hasn't been a real movie.
It seems like it. When you watch it, you're like, this is a movie I've already probably seen, actually.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, you know, it was one of those early films that brought in that trend. So it'd be fun to see Mike Myers again play all these different absurd characters. I dig it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and plus, you know, the reason why he's on the Jimmy Fallon show and the reason why, you know, we have this article that we have up here from Yahoo is because, I mean, right now, Mike Myers is kind of, like they say here, experiencing something of a comeback right now. I mean, you got lots of things that he's in. He has that Married and Axe Murder series on Netflix that's really popular right now. And then, yeah, again, you got lots of IP with this guy, because you could do a Wayne's World movie, right? And I feel like that would be just as kind of big, you know, now as Austin Powers would, you know. So yeah, it's really cool to see. I mean, we as me as a fan personally, you know, I love Mike Myers as an actor, and I enjoyed him a lot. You know, when I was a kid, there was so much more, you know, seeing him on was it SNL?
Yep.
And stuff like that was just so, I mean, he was so great. He's such a performer. And even, you know, later in the last couple of years, I've been able to see a few things that he's actually a pretty good actor in. So it's exciting to see that, you know, he's out there, he's getting work again, because there was that, right, that I don't even want to say, but maybe like a 5 or 10 year period where it kind of seemed like he was just gone, right? We didn't really have much.
Well, he did make The Love Guru, so he deserved
Yeah,
the exile
true,
that he got. That
true.
movie.
One of the worst films ever made, that's for sure.
I would rather watch Hocus Pocus 2 than The Love Guru.
I'm going to take Love Guru.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm going to take Love Guru. I'm going to take it. Yeah, because it's almost to me now, like when I go back and I watch, oh, goodness, what's the one with Forrest Whitaker and Battle?
With Battlefield Earth, right?
Yeah, Battlefield Earth. When I go back and watch that movie now, it's like brilliant.
I'd
It's
rather
like,
watch Hocus Pocus 2 than
no.
Battlefield Earth.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good because it's sucky, but in such a funny, good way. It's like we were talking about something earlier. It's like, did they do this on purpose?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah, they did. They definitely did.
I don't think they did, dude. I don't think they did.
I hope so. Well, I view it now as they did.
You do realize that Travolta making that movie was like Mel Gibson making Passion of the Christ, because, you know, Mel Gibson's this very Catholic or Christian, whatever,
Sure.
devout Christian, wants to make this film honoring Jesus. Well, Battlefield Earth has its ties to Scientology.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and L. Ron Hubbard. And so Travolta, Scientologist, making this film was like his Passion of Christ.
Oh, wow.
So this came from a very serious...
You know, I had the book when I was a kid, and honestly, it was a great book.
There you go.
I read it all the time, and I mean, it was a dense book for a kid my age, but I loved the stuff in there, but just because it was very space and sci-fi, and who doesn't love that kind of stuff? But anyways, guys, have you guys heard anything about this Mike Myers on the Jimmy Fallon show talking about wanting to come back to potentially do an Austin Powers 4? If you guys haven't heard or just not hearing, what do you guys think? Let us know down in the comment section below. Are you guys Mike Myers fans? Do you want to see an Austin Powers 4? Or did you like the original ones, but you think it's probably not a good idea to do another one? Let us know, guys, down in the comment section below. Okay, we're going to move on to our fourth main topic today. So our fourth main topic we're going to talk about is something we talked about last week too a little bit, Shane, and that is that Smile is just tearing up the box office right now, guys. So over the weekend, Smile was able to rake in another 17.5, a little over $1 million. And that's with new competition. So it had Amsterdam now. Shane, you know a little bit about Amsterdam. You heard the cast of Amsterdam. You know David O. Russell, right? You know that this is a movie that should probably be drawing some fans out to watch it if it isn't just for the cast itself. It's a bit of an ensemble, I would say, and yet still Smile's #1 at the box office. And again, I would just like to say I think that talks a lot to the fact that we're in October and people want to be in that October scary fall feeling. And I love this. I love that Smile's doing great. In fact, I think it's inspired me, guys, that I was telling Shane that I may have to, this week, we may have to journey out and check Smile out in theaters.
Field trip.
Yeah, while it's going good and everyone else is seeing it, we want to talk about it now and see it now and give us your thought. Give you guys our thoughts while it's out there and stuff. But yeah, this is coming to us from Yahoo, and so over the weekend, $17.6 million, and I think if I believe right, it brings the grand total of this thing to it was like $90 million or something. So this thing's making worldwide. Of course. Now so that means this thing's making great money. So the whole world's in this October feel with us, guys. So I'm excited. I'm happy to see that this movie's doing well. I mean, considering that you did just have a movie like Barbarian come out, and Barbarian didn't, draw this kind of much attention, and it has competition, maybe not in the horror field, but there was Lyle Lyle Crocodile, which gained $11.5 million. Amsterdam should have been a movie that made $15 to $20 million easily in its sleep opening weekend, guys. And then you had Bros, you still things at the box office, and it's beating all those things. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm gonna have to go check it out. Like I said, the longer that it's out there and the more that it's being successful, the more that it makes me want to go see it while I can in the theaters, And so everything I'm hearing about is good. I mean, the Rotten Tomato scores are still up in the high 70s or maybe 80s. So fans and critics are loving it alike. And, I mean, this just looks fun. I mean, we talked about the trailers last week on the show. And if you haven't seen that, go check it out. But, the trailers look creepy and just weird, and just the idea of these people smiling at you and kind of passing this thing on to you in itself is just kind of terrifying. And like I said, it kind of reminds me, It Follows, and Shane brought up that it reminds him of The Ring, and it really is kind of almost like a combination of those two things, and it just looks like a lot of fun. So Shane, you're seeing this Smile again, 2 weekends at the box office is dominating. It beats out a movie like Amsterdam with Christian Bale, John David Washington, Zoe Saldana. I could go on for the rest of the show naming people in that movie. What are your thoughts? What are you thinking, Shane?
Is Amsterdam going to be able to pay for its cast of
No way.
I mean, that's quite the lineup, and they're all big bangers. So they're all pulling in $5 million or more per picture, right? So I don't know if they're even going to recoup that. A couple things I want to talk about Smile. The more I dug into this, the more I'm excited that this movie is doing what it's doing, because this movie is written and directed by this first-time director, Parker Finn, first-time big-time project director. This was actually a short film he made 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And based on the short film, Paramount threw a bunch of money at him.
Oh, you know what? I remember this.
We watched this, right? Yeah, we watched this. Yeah.
We did. I showed this.
Yeah, you showed this to me.
Oh, yeah. It's just been so long. I mean, that had to be like 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So it's been so long, my brain completely forgot. I'm glad you brought that up, Shane.
Yeah, so we watched that over here 2 years ago. And we
it
thought
was
it was
great.
we thought it was incredible. It was like one of the best horror things we've seen. Mm-hmm. And and again, if you ask me what made it so special, was it the ideas? It was just well made. It knew how to build suspense and knew how to have a great payoff. And I think that's showing up now that we have a second weekend, which is always now the word of mouth weekend.
Right.
So now we know how a picture is doing based on the reviews and also friends telling friends. And it seems like it's keeping its momentum. The second thing I had to look at was I just wanted to judge this movie based on what pre-pandemic numbers were. And, it's pretty on par of like with a Zombieland 2, which makes sense. It's another horror film, came out in October. But just all in all, movies are, completely down, of course, because it's pre-pandemic, but we're nowhere near what we used to be. When Zombieland was making that much money at the box office, they were the 5th highest grossing film.
Oh, wow.
Smile now making the same numbers, number 1.
Yeah.
So, and
you got some catching up to do.
Yeah, we have some catching up to do. So it's really, I think, we're at this point where we should applaud Smile, be happy for it. But we're also in this day and age where we don't know what numbers are going to mean, Right now, I'm just glad to see that this thing's performing the way it is, and people are slowly getting back out to the theater to watch movies like this.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And to speak a little bit more on Amsterdam, Shane, you were saying, would they even make their budget? So they made $6.5 million opening weekend on an $80 million budget.
Yeah, I bet half of that was cast.
$80 million budget, and it's sitting on a 33% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow, really? That bad?
Right? So, it's but again, just with opening weekend, though, you would still think that people would go out at least, and then, you tell your friends it's terrible, and then no one goes to see it again. But, again, I really, 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 though, want to emphasize, guys, I know you're going to hear this a lot from me this month, but it really speaks to just how people feel again this month. It's scary time, man, and people just want to be scared, man, and we like that stuff. There's literally places here, I don't know where you guys live, but in our city, there's places here where you can pay for guys with chainsaws to chase you around. So...
Really?
Yeah.
Welcome to 2022.
Right. So the world we live in wants to be scared. We have all these things to scare us. Even if you think of an amusement park ride, right? The idea of what makes it fun is that it scares us, right? So I think it speaks a lot to, again, the time of the year it is, because, I feel like if this was September, that Amsterdam would have beat Smile, and Smile wouldn't probably doing maybe good at all at the box office, especially not $100 million worldwide for a movie that we really know nothing about. And this is really great. I'm glad, Shane, you brought up the fact that this comes from a content creator on YouTube that was just, creating content, and putting it out there in the world and hoping for the best. And he gets this deal with Paramount or whoever it is, and he gets this movie made, and he takes advantage of the situation. He makes a good movie. And look, it's doing well. And as a movie fan, I'm glad to see those kind of things. It fills my heart with joy to see that not only, did this guy get an opportunity, he capitalized on the opportunity. And now he has, a success. So moving forward, we could, have more movies by this guy that are potentially just as good, if not even better, as time goes on. So that's pretty exciting too. It reminds me a lot of something that I wanted to talk about when I thought about making a main topic today, but there's just not enough information, and we will later as it goes. But someone we really love as a director here is Robert Eggers. Me and Shane just really love him, and he's making a Nosferatu movie. That's what he's working on right now. Cool. That's his next thing, and there's some more casting information coming out. They were saying Nicholas Hoult, the guy that played Beast in the
First
X-Men,
Class,
yes, may be involved in it now, and they cast Nosferatu, the guy that plays It, I believe, Skarsgård, or I think that's his name, is going to be playing Nosferatu, and so there's all these things about Nosferatu, and it just gives me hope that if this movie gets completed, which I think it will finally, because this is something he's wanted to do for a long time, but he's kind of never had the cachet to cash in on it. But now, he can walk in and say, hey, I'm Robert Eggers, and I want to make this movie, and he's got it. So I think we'll get it. But just seeing something like Smile, have a success like this, even because even Robert Eggers' movies is great. One of the best directors working today. I mean, Lighthouse made what, $6 million?
I'm pretty sure Smiles already outgrossed The Northman.
Yeah, there you go. And The Northman's one of the best films to come out, in recent years. So again, it just does my heart, fills my heart with joy to see, someone have this success, and hopefully moving forward, we can have more success when it comes to these horror-based, movies. And I think, it speaks a lot too, because we just talked about, again, Barbarian had just came out, towards the end of September, and it did okay, but it ain't doing what Smile's doing. Smile is 2 weekends in a row at the box office against a movie, again, like Amsterdam, the star stacked with cast, So it just shows you that October, that 1 week difference between, September 20 whatever and October 1st. Like, there was a big difference because, I feel like if Barbarian was out in theaters right now, Smile would have more of a competition. And I feel like, when, and Shane, I'm sure you'll agree with me on this, when Halloween Ends comes out, even though it comes out simultaneously on streaming for free, basically,
people will still go out.
It's still it'll knock Smile right off of that throne of being number one. And because, again, it's Halloween and people want to be scared, and people love Michael Myers and these kind of movies. So yeah, guys, have you had a chance to check out the trailer for Smile? I know we talked about it last week. Maybe you guys have gone out in theaters and seen it. Let us know down in the comment section. Like, did you guys enjoy it? Is it a bad movie? Would you recommend me and Shane to go check it out this week? Would you guys want to hear a review on it? Let us know down in the comment section below your guys' thoughts. So we're going to move on to main topic number 5, right?
Yeah, the last one, I think.
Final main topic. Okay, so this is something, guys, that came out last week, but I really wanted to wait until we had a little bit more information on it. And it seems, if I can get to what I want to get to here, it seems like we do now. And that is that Netflix, as we often talk about around here, in fact, we were just talking about it earlier this week, Shane, about how, they have to figure out some way to market better and to do these things better because, we'll pop on Netflix and see a movie like Hustle and wonder why the hell we didn't hear anything about this. How is it here today? Like, I mean, even, you could maybe mark it on Netflix, maybe like a week before it came out. When I open the Netflix app, it pops up. It won't even let me, I have to click off of it. And it says, hey, next week, Hustle with Adam Sandler or something.
I like that.
Yeah, there has to be some way we can market these things better to people. And
didn't you just say, So I Married an Axe Murderer is on Netflix, like a TV series? My wife and I are a huge fan of that movie. Some of the few people that remember seeing it in the theater and actually liked it back then. We would love a series, and I had no idea. It's on Netflix?
Yeah.
I was just on Netflix. Literally, yesterday I was on there. Why wasn't this recommended to me? Yeah, they got to do something. You are absolutely right. And I like that idea about just some pop-up, just to give us some anticipation. Not a pop-up. They'll do this every once in a while when something drops, when it's released.
Yes, right.
But, give me some anticipation.
There, right,
yeah,
right.
Let us talk about it. Let it marinate for a week, and then, it creates buzz. I think that's a great idea.
They also recently did the same thing with the Monster Jeffrey Dahmer series. Again, one day me and my wife just flip on Netflix, and there it is. Now, on those same lines, it was reported a couple of years ago, Shane, when Knives Out came out, that Netflix had acquired the rights to Knives Out 2 and 3 for around $450 million. Now, at the time, it didn't seem like the worst idea in the world because Knives Out was having so much success, both critically. I mean, it got nominated for Academy Awards. It did well at the box office. I think we said it made over $300 million, which we just talked about recently about comedy movies not being able, and I would label this as a comedy movie. I mean, it is a whodunit kind of comedy thing, but it's still, to me, it's
family friendly. I think it's PG-13, which helps.
Right. So I think that, at the time it wasn't such a dumb idea, but I think as time gone on, we've all started to realize what we initially thought, which is how you getting that money back?
Mm-hmm.
How you getting that $450 million back, Shane? And I think we knew then what Netflix is realizing now, which is we ain't, and we better do something. So this is coming to us from the Wall Street Journal, and so basically what we're finding out is that from November 23rd through November 29th. So what is that? Is that a 7 day? Is that a full 7 day period?
Yeah, just about.
So a full 7 day period, they're going to give this thing what they're calling a wide release. Now, granted, normally a wide release is about, 4,000 theaters, Shane? But in this particular case, it's saying around 600 is what it's going to be in. But still, this is a huge different way that they normally go than they normally go. I mean, we're talking about a studio, Netflix, that doesn't put movies in theaters at all. Shane mentioned earlier that they have put, things in theaters so they were able to get like Oscar contention. But the thing is that you only need to put it in like a theater, or maybe it's like two or something. So it's not the same, guys. This is completely new. This is completely off the radar and something that I didn't see coming, but something that I've been saying for years is that when you're spending this kind of money, it's hard to justify just throwing it up in the air and hoping for the best and knowing that you have no way to recuperate those dollars. And again, like we talk about too quite often, is that when you're Amazon, and your movie division and your television app is just a free thing that comes with your service, then you can do that. You can go spend $500 million on the Lord of the Rings, make a series, and then print Lord of the Rings crap all over your boxes that you're sending out your actual money-making goods in. And that's brilliant, and it works. But the truth is, Netflix ain't making that kind of money from other things. All their money comes from their subscribers, right? And so if this movie, if Knives Out 2, let's say it comes out and gains them 3 new subscribers, what does that calculate to? And then again, how are we going to get to, how does that get us to 450 million? Because the fact of the matter is why all subscription-based services fail over time, Shane, is because at some point or another, everyone could have it. And once everyone has it, you have no more product to continue to sell people to sell subscriptions to. And the fact of the matter is, guys, Netflix is the biggest streamer out there. It has the most subscribers. So it's not like Knives Out 2 is going to gain them any more anything. But a week in theaters, 600, we talked about this a little bit, Shane. I mean, I think this could make, I don't know, $50 million maybe. And I mean, that's pretty big, right? It could maybe make, I would even say opening weekend, it maybe banks 50 million. And then all in all, worldwide from that week release, let's say it makes 75 million. That's, again, like we were saying, that's better than what they were expecting, which was nothing, right? And so it seems like as we've gotten further and further into this movie's development, and now it's done and it's ready to put out, Netflix is looking down at the books and thinking, guys, we can't just throw this on the app, right? We got to get some sort of money back for it. Now, that being said, they spent $450 million on two sequels to this. So if it, costs, if they split that budget, let's say, and there's $225 they spent to make this particular sequel, then you still have to throw marketing money at this, right? If you're going to put it in theaters, you can't just hope that everyone reads the Wall Street Journal, right? So if you want this to do well in that 7 days that you're going to put it out, you got to throw millions and millions of dollars at marketing this thing, right? So I guess the question I have for you, Shane, is what do you think about this, finally happening? Netflix finally making what I would say is the smarter decision, because again, this isn't a wide release still. I think it's kind of it's a step in the right direction, but it's kind of silly in its own right, because 600 theaters, why not just release it in all theaters for a week, you know? Or did maybe, I guess it's possible that the theater companies were like, hey, if you're only letting us have it for a week, bro, we're not going to be putting it in all our theaters. And I guess that's a very good possibility too. But also the other one thing I want to say before I kick it over to you, Shane, is that the big thing that comes along with this is what I think affects Netflix the most, actually, is its subscriber base. Because now this movie won't be on Netflix when it's in theaters. So if I want to see it, I will have to go out and see it. And part of the agreement that they made is that after it gets done in its 7-day theatrical release, that it has to spend 30 days on a shelf before they're allowed to put it on streaming. So, you know, as a Netflix fan, you know, it reminds me kind of when Disney Plus kind of threw up Black Widow on Disney Plus for $30. And as a guy who had been subscribing for a year with no content, it was kind of like a kick in the teeth. Like, really, man? Like, I deserve this content, you know? I pay for the streaming app every month, and you want me to pay you more now. And it kind of feels that way in this case, too. Shane, again, what are your thoughts on the idea of them finally putting a movie in theater? And then what is your thoughts on the fact that it has to sit on the shelf for 30 days, and how do you think that affects Netflix?
You know, knowing that, it makes sense why they're only doing 7 days. Through this whole thing, I thought it was stranger that they're only keeping it in the theaters for 7 days versus the amount of theaters. 600 doesn't sound a lot, but, you know, looking at, I still have the box office mojo up for October 2019 numbers, and this is pre-pandemic, and Jay and Silent Bob, the reboot movie, was in 788 theaters. So, you know, it's not, you know.
And that wasn't, yeah.
But, you know, Knives Out, again, you know, Oscar-nominated film for, you know, and very successful already, a second one. I'm surprised that it's not in more theaters, and I'm really surprised it's not out later. But you're hitting Thanksgiving weekend. You want it also be available by Christmas holiday. I think that's about 30 days away. So that's probably why they have such a short.
Great point.
You know,
great point, because this is a great kind of Christmas movie feel to it, right?
I think that's when I watched the first one. I think I
so
streamed
too,
it over
and I
Christmas.
remember kind of being in that feel that it kind of matched it in a way. So I think that's a great point.
And so, you know, I think that Netflix probably should have done this forever ago. I think that, you know, even for movies that I'm like, you know, I'll catch it when it's streaming, I think they should all have theatrical releases. There's something special. There's also, you know, a built-in fan base. They would love to see it. You know, it's just something about seeing movies in the theater. Even if it's not a movie I want to see in the theater, put it out in the theater. Even if it's, like you said, 600 theaters one weekend, then it goes to streaming service. I think that's a pretty cool call. I like the direction Netflix is going, which I can't ever tell. $450 million to buy this property. I mean, honestly, this property, Knives Out, it's pretty derivative of other things like Clue. Yeah. Couldn't they just come up with another type of murder mystery?
Big IP, right? So,
well, forget the IP. Why don't you just make your own? Give it a gamble. You know, just make it your own murder mystery comedy. You know, get a great cast together, and maybe it's successful. Now maybe you own the IP, and you're not spending $450. You know, so you still divide it by 2, and you're talking about marketing money. You know, so you're spending at least $300 million per movie for a movie that only made $300 million. Right. So to me, it wasn't a great investment. But what do I know? I don't understand at all how Netflix could possibly make money.
Well, I think it's a good point, you know, and a proof positive that it is a bad investment. And anyway, when they do these things, like you said, without giving them a theatrical release, that all of them should. Because, again, look at Smile. Look at Smile. This is a movie that, if it would have came straight to Netflix, it seems made for that. It seems made just to go straight to a streaming app. And it's made almost $100 million worldwide. That's a ton of money.
Well, I actually read that about Smile was Paramount. They were putting it on Paramount Plus. They made it to put on Paramount Plus, but their original screen tests were so positive they decided to put out for the theater.
That's great. We hear that all the time, like the Blue Beetle movie that they're making, Shane. They when Discovery took over Warner Brothers, you know, they had went in at first and they said, this is going to be a straight to HBO Max movie. But then when Discovery came in, David Zaslav, the new CEO, he sat down and watched it, and he was like, "Oh hell no, this movie's going to theaters. This is going to tear theaters up," And I love hearing those kinds of things, especially when it comes to something that we know is probably really going to be pretty good. Again, I really enjoyed the first Knives Out, and I think that this could probably be a good movie. So if the first one's making $300 million, then I would think that this one maybe would have potentially a bit more success than the first one, right? So we could be looking at a $400-500 million movie. I mean,
that's the thing with sequels, is that it could go either way. They could be less successful than the first one or double the money the first one did.
Exactly, right. And like you said, and that's the thing with sequels. But the thing is, do you, as a company, keep taking the risk of leaving all this money just lying on a table? Because that's what you're doing when you do these things. And like you said, I think we've all been asking for a long time how Netflix is able to get away with what they're doing. I mean, they operate on a negative profit margin. They have for years. They spend 5 times more money than they bring in. But the idea is that one day they'll balance out the amount of content that they're creating themselves and that they're licensing. So hopefully they're making more money. But when you make decisions like paying $450 million just for the rights to two sequels to a movie, it becomes hard to see how you will be successful years and years down the road moving forward, especially when you have Disney and Warner Brothers and Apple and all these things that seem to do the opposite. And they're going, yeah, well, we'll put it in theaters until it, can't do what it can do anymore, and then we'll throw it up on our app. And I think Netflix has, just tried to resent that. There was that time, I mean, it feels like 10 years ago now, but where Netflix was thinking about buying AMC or Regal, or maybe even building their own theaters, around and stuff. But they realized quickly, that's even more stupid. It's a dying industry that barely is making it as it is. So you don't want to be building new theaters all across the country, in the middle of that. So Netflix doesn't make all the greatest financial decisions. And honestly, I don't think this is the right decision. I think this is a step in the right direction. I don't think we're getting what we need to get. This movie should be in theaters for at least 30 days, a minimum. And then, as much as the theaters don't want these things to go to apps immediately, there probably shouldn't be 30 days it sits on the shelf in between time. So I don't know. I think there's a lot more to be kind of hashed out, where this is clearly the beginning of what Netflix is willing to negotiate with the theaters. So we may see further, down the road, more movies from Netflix making different kinds of deals. Maybe we end up with a 30-day theatrical window, or we end up at a certain spot where it's like, well, this is how we do Netflix movies. And if so, I think it would be great for Netflix, because, again, it gives them the chance to kind of recuperate some of that money. We were talking about years ago about the idea of, the guys, the Duffer Brothers that create Stranger Things. Their plan was always to make the last 2 things like a 2-part movie. Like, part 1, part 2, that come out like 6 months apart, like The Matrix kind of did, or lots of other things. And I mean, as a huge fan of Stranger Things, I would love to see a Stranger Things theatrical release movie. I think it would be big. It would be fun. I mean, Stranger Things, Shane, as you know, has a big fandom, as a lot of things do these days. So imagine how many Stranger Things people, dressed as, cosplays, and dudes riding their bikes up to the theaters and all these things. I mean, that would be just so fun to see. Mm-hmm. And I would love to see more things, that they bring, especially good movies. Like, we talked about Hustle last week. Hustle is a movie that should have been in theaters. It should have been in theaters because, why it should have been in theaters? Because it's a great movie. And when movies are great, that is the best thing you can do to try to get people to come see them, is have a good movie. That is the hardest thing to do with a movie, is to make a good movie. So if you have one and you know it's that good, and then you've let critics see it and they're like, whoa, how do you just throw that up on an app and not give it a chance in theaters? It's just, as a movie fan, it sucks for me to see those kind of things. But I'm glad we're seeing this. I'm glad we're seeing a small step in the right direction, and we're seeing Netflix decide, hey, let's give this a chance in theaters. And I think, Shane, the success of this kind of teeters or depends on
Their
moving
future
forward
moves,
of how this goes. So,
I agree.
If in this week it makes $200 million or something crazy, this could really change. It could open their eyes in one way or the other. So I think it's going to be an important time, and it's something we're going to definitely be keeping our eye on here at the channel. Again, this would be from November 23rd to the 29th. I don't think, knowing that it's going to be, right on the app and 30 days after that, around Christmas time, I think we'll probably wait it out and check it out on streaming, and not be the people that go check it out. But I wish for its success, and I hope that it does well, because again, I would like to see more of these films and things that Netflix are doing. Another thing we were talking about is, how they put something out and cancel it right away, And again, if it could make a little bit of money, maybe they wouldn't view it that way so quickly. And maybe they want to. They're like, oh, we didn't like that, but it made $500 million. It changes the way you're looking at things, and it may keep them from canceling things so quickly. And it may also give them incentive to market things better, because again, things are just popping up and we know nothing about them. And I think that really affects Netflix a lot. So, Shane, you have any other last thoughts about this?
Yeah, I just got to make sure I watch So I Married an Axe Murderer Now series on Netflix. I had no idea. Yeah, I totally echo everything you say. I think it's a smart move, but they got to figure out a better way to market everything they do, because it's so easy for it just to get lost in the ether. Netflix is just too enormous to scroll through. I get tired of scrolling. If I can't find something after 30 minutes of scrolling, it's exhausting.
Yeah, right.
It's just maybe I'll just go to bed. I mean, it is 8:30, whatever. Right. I'll go to bed now.
Yeah.
So
we'll start bickering at each other. All of a sudden, we're just leading into a fight.
Why are we fighting? Right. Netflix, because Netflix doesn't market.
That's why Netflix built that thing that, I don't know if you've ever seen this, but there's a button at the top, and you press that button, and it's just like, we got you.
The random thing, yeah. Not sure. I can't remember what it's called, but yeah.
Keep from fighting with your wife button. That's what they call that.
Oh, that is too funny.
But yeah, guys, have you guys heard anything about this Netflix movie being released into theaters? Again, I know this is kind of late news, and they talked about it last week, but I just wanted to kind of wait until we had a little more information on it and make sure that what we were hearing was true, because you never know with Netflix. This is something brand new, and it's the first time. So, but have you guys heard this? What are you guys' thoughts? Are you guys excited for Knives Out 2? Did you like Knives Out 1? Would you go into a 7-day theater window to check out Knives Out 2, or are you going to wait to see it on the app? Let us know what you guys think in the comment section below. So that's going to be it for the main topics of the show. Shane, did we have any chat questions today?
We did not get any chat questions today. Okay. I guess we just covered everything so extensively that we answered everything.
I do see a couple of things, like Lily Ali asked something about the black cat. That's from
Hocus Pocus.
Yeah, it is funny that she brings that up, because you talked to me about the black cat a little bit before you had a chance to check it out, and I was telling you that the black cat's in the movie. Did it feel like it served some sort of purpose that it was supposed to serve that never did to you?
They kept
that's what
hinting.
I think Lily is kind of getting at, is that it always seemed like there was something bigger that was behind this thing. Like maybe there was a person in the cat, or maybe the cat's lived forever, or I don't know, but then we just kind of, just nothing. It's just a cat. He's there.
And then you have the post-credit scene, which I can't believe I made. I went out for smoke and then came back, and it's coming up. And I'm like, oh, there's a post-credit scene. And, you know, it had to do with the black cat guarding the black flame candles. And it was like, wait, so does the black cat know? Is it part of it? Just
Right.
But I do have to say that Cobweb is a killer name for a black cat.
Definitely.
So I did like that.
I can agree to that sentiment 1,000%. I see she also asked, is there going to be another Austin Powers? Maybe. It looks like there may be another Austin Powers. I mean, I would want to see another Austin Powers. And I love Beyonce and Austin Powers.
Oh, are there any good horror TV shows out besides American Horror Story?
Horror TV?
There's that anthology one that Del Toro's coming out with.
The Cabinets of Curiosity coming out.
That's going to be
good.
cool.
I recently went and checked out. It's been a couple of months now, but I checked out the Jordan Peele Twilight Zone series.
Oh yeah, you were telling me about that.
And I really enjoyed that a lot. If you guys haven't checked that out, I would totally give it a shot. I don't know if I would call it just straight horror, but I mean, there's elements of that in there. But it was a lot of fun. I mean, it was a mixed bag, I think, overall, but overall, I did enjoy myself watching it, and I would definitely give it a shot. What about you, Shane? You know of any horror television?
The last big horror television that I got into, and I think this is one that Netflix canceled before it was due, so works perfect. Segues back into our other topic. But I think you can enjoy it even if you're not a fan of this series, but just go in knowing a little bit of the humor of the series, and that's Ash versus the Evil Dead. Okay. I'm a big Evil Dead fan anyway, but that show was so good. It had everything. It had great gore, it had great horror, it had great humor. The acting was terrific. I absolutely love that show. The only downside is it just never got to finish.
Yeah, you talk about that all the time.
I do.
I got to check it out. I really do need to get on, especially while we're in October right now. But let's see. Lily Ali also asked, she would like to know of a horror movie that scared us as a kid and that still scares us today as an adult.
Okay.
For me, that's very easy. You know, when I was a kid, everything kind of scared me to an extent, Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, Chucky, all of those things I was a big fan of, and I would binge watch all of them. Children of the Corn, I mean, everything. But nothing scared me like the original Halloween movie. It made me very scared. Like, I remember watching it as a child and, like, crawling under, like, our coffee table and watching it from below the coffee table as if somehow, this would help me in a circumstance. But I was just so young, and I remember thinking how real it was. I remember my brain, when I first seen it, immediately clicking with the idea that Chucky, couldn't be real. He's a doll that's been possessed. I mean, it's all just so out there, and it just doesn't make sense to me. But this was just a dude that escaped from a mental hospital, and when he was a kid, he murdered his own sister. Like, that's something that could happen today, right now, And to me, I remember being so frightened. I mean, my parents also knew it, and they would use it against me, to scare me. They'd, like, have their friend come over in a Michael Myers mask.
Oh, man,
and
evil.
It was frightening. I remember being totally terrified by Halloween. But other than that, honestly, as a kid, nothing really scared me like I guess I was seeking out. I mean, I was watching every horror movie possible, and nothing ever really gave me quite the fright that I really was, like I said, seeking out. But Halloween. Shane, what about you? I mean, did you have a Halloween movie that you've seen as a kid and thought was scary, and then now as an adult, when you see it, you still feel that way?
I wasn't a big horror fan growing up. Sadly, I absolutely love horror movies now. It's one of my favorite genres. But that took a lot of effort for my wife, because when I was a little kid, I was just scaredy pants. I didn't want anything. Like, the things that I appreciate about horror now is the sense of emotion and dread and the fear that the movie gives you. Well, I didn't want to feel that when I was a kid. I didn't understand that it's supposed to do that. It was, and now I can see the brilliance behind great horror, because it's so impressive that you can do that to an audience. But back then, I just didn't want to feel that way. So I didn't watch a lot of horror movies, but probably the one that scared me, that comes top of my mind when I was a kid, that's still, I wouldn't call it scary because I've seen it way too many times, But I remember my good friend Paul came over with The Shining. He was like, "You have to watch The Shining."
You know, I was gonna say that obviously because it scared me the most as a kid. But again, to me, The Shining wasn't a horror as much as it was like a mind kind of horror thing, you know. And so, I mean, that movie scared me in a different way, and not in a horror way, not in a like, oh, I'm afraid to be here, but like I'm afraid to watch this, you know.
That's exactly what this story was. So my friend puts it on. And, you know, it opens up with the, the overhead helicopter shot.
Greatest opening scene
and it's got the boom,
ever. Yeah.
Boom. And right then, like I said, I was such a scaredy pants. I was so filled with fear from the opening seconds. I was like, okay, I'm out of here. And I'm not kidding. We were watching it in the basement. I walked right out of there, and I went up, and I spent the rest of the night sitting next to my mom watching, I don't know, L.A. Law or whatever the fuck she had on. Whatever the heck she had on, excuse me.
Right.
So I was very big scaredy pants, but that was one that I'll never forget. Another real quick story that I want to tell from my childhood. I had an older brother who's 15 years older than me, and he used to torment me. And one thing he did is he was living in the basement at our childhood home at the time, and I was playing in one of the rooms in the basement. He had a bunch of friends watching Silence of the Lambs over. Have you seen Silence of the Lambs?
Sure.
So
it's been a long time.
So you know Buffalo Bill when he's doing the
Put
dance.
the lotion in the basket.
Yeah, and he's doing the dance, and he's tucking his junk back behind.
That's scary.
Well, I was like 9 or something
Right.
when that movie came out. And 7 or something. And my brother during that scene tells me to come in there with all his friends. He's like, "Hey, Shane, get in here." And I'm like, "Okay." And he's like, "Look at this." And, shows. And I remember just being like, what
are you doing to me?
And they all laughed, and I ran away. And
That is great.
those are my 2 scaredest moments when I was a child.
I remember, when my dad first showed me The Shining, and it's when it really became my favorite movie because something I didn't know then, but I know now thanks to you, Shane, that I often quote is that movies are, meant to make you feel.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it became my favorite movie because I didn't understand how I felt as a kid. I just knew that it was different. Like whatever feeling I was feeling wasn't like Halloween or Michael or Jason or like all those felt like slasher horror films. They're all where this again, especially as a kid, I really just didn't know what I was watching or what was happening. It was just so off the walls and so scary, like psychologically for me. And just you mentioned that opening scene of them in the wagon, on the way, and just that was scary. You're right, but what about the hotel, right? What about the what's it called? The
Overlook.
The Overlook. I mean, that for me as a kid, like I've told you this numerous times. One of the most frightening parts of the movie to me is when Danny is on his trike. And he's just riding through the hotel, and you keep seeing these shots of the plastic wheels hitting a new type of floor, a wood floor.
And then hearing that,
and and you're seeing it, and you know that there's everything and anything lurking around every corner of this place, and you just don't know what to expect. And there's this kid who, of course, I'm a kid as I'm watching it, so it's who I want to relate to. So I am this kid, right? And all I could do is be fearful for him. Like, what are you doing, kid? How are you just riding through? Which is so funny because as a kid, if we were given that circumstance, we would be just like Danny. We wouldn't think anything like that, and we'd just be cruising our tricycle around
Look
this.
how big my home is now.
Right? We'd be having a blast. So yeah, but the Overlook itself, was so intimidating to me. I remember the scene where she comes down and he's, typing on the typewriter, and she comes down those big stairs, where he kind of loses his cool with her and stuff. I remember how much just how big it was frightened me. Like how big that scene was, and that he was alone in this big room by himself. And then I always imagine how long did it take her just to find him? In the Overlook, did she know where he was? Did he go right in the same place every time? Or it's just such a big scary place. And then of course, something I love about movies when they do it right is the isolation. We can't leave this place. There's snow everywhere.
Trapped.
Right.
You're in for a big surprise.
Even just something like that was really scary. But why I can think of it and quickly, because I'm going on too long on this, but you mentioned The Shining, and when you did, it reminded me of something else that really frightened me as a kid when I first seen it, and it's still, I would say, in the top 3 to 5 best films ever, and that's the original Planet of the Apes. You remember the scene, with is it David Goldstein that did the score, I believe, or Jerry Goldstein?
Yeah, Jerry Goldstein.
You remember the scene when they first see the apes? Right, and that score, and it's
just
like,
erupts.
oh my gosh, I remember being like, just like what the movie wanted you to feel, which is like, what the hell am I looking at? What is happening? Like, it's like monkeys on horses and stuff, and I remember it actually being frightening when I first seen it, and I remember it giving me this, weird feeling again that like, what am I watching kind of thing. And
that movie traumatized me. I remember watching that movie one summer afternoon with my mom, and it gets to the end, the classic end. We blew it up. It was Earth the whole time.
Right.
And I had a baseball game that next day, and I remember playing like shit, and my coach pulling me off, and it's like, Shane, what is going on today? And I just remember going, it was Earth the whole time. I mean, it deeply affected me, where it stayed with me. It's like, we blew it up. We just...
And you know who wrote Planet of the Apes, right?
Who wrote Planet of the Apes?
Yeah.
Who was it?
It was Rod Serling.
Oh, was
Yeah,
it? Well, then that makes sense. Of course. That
if you
twist.
think about it,
Perfect.
it's like the greatest feature-length Twilight Zone episode
No
ever
kidding.
made. I mean,
Great
it really
twist.
is that. I mean, everything about it. So that's another one I would say. If you guys haven't checked that out, I know it's not a very popular movie nowadays, and people, when they think of the Apes movies, they think of these new ones
Modern.
that
The Francos.
that the director of the Batman directed, whose name...
Oh, Tim Burton? You don't think of the new ones?
No. The Batman with Robert
Oh,
Pattinson.
I didn't realize he directed Planet of the Apes.
Yes, the 3.
So that's hilarious. So we got Tim Burton's Batman, and he went on to make
Yep.
Planet of the Apes.
I know.
And then you got the guy who remade the trilogy of
Yeah.
Planet of the Apes that goes on to do Batman.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I just learned that.
And it again, it doesn't get talked about it much because of the more modern Apes movies, and those movies are okay. I'm not the hugest fan. Honestly, I think that Burton's gets a lot of hate more than it's justified. I think that movie's okay. Like, I think it...
Did he do 2? Did Burton do 2
I
Planet
think
of
he
the
just
Apes?
did the one with Mark Wahlberg, I believe. Is
Oh, yeah, he was in it.
Yeah.
Wow.
I like that movie. I really do like that movie. I will say it's probably because I hadn't had anything apes in so long. But hey, man, if you don't know, Planet of the Apes was the original sci-fi IP. Like, there was, if you think about it, I mean, there was Planet of the Apes, like up to 5 of them, right? I mean, they were all theatrical experiences. They all made money. They were all good to an extent, in my opinion. I enjoyed them all, at least.
I'm going to have to go King Kong or Godzilla as the original sci-fi IP. Probably Godzilla.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't think anything... Godzilla still didn't create the world that Planet of the Apes created.
That's
I don't
true.
think.
Yeah.
I think that it was bigger. It was so much. It was like Lord of the Rings and the things that we have today, but it was, supernatural and sci-fi and. But anyways, yeah, it's a great movie. If you haven't checked out the original Planet of the Apes, you guys could go check that out. Definitely check out The Shining.
Oh,
The Shining is one of the most terrifying movies ever. I for some reason, and me and you have this debate every year. You think Die Hard's a Christmas movie. I think Shining's a Christmas movie. It is what it is. But for some reason, for me, The Shining is something I watch around November, December instead of October. But every once in a while, I'll creep it in October 31st. So that way,
It's because of that snow.
Yeah, it just feels that time of year. But anyway, moving on. I see we have another question here from Matt. Matt says, you guys had mentioned Jack Black last week because he's obviously playing the voice of Bowser. If you guys didn't check that out, our Super Mario.
Oh, I didn't catch that. He's playing Bowser?
Yeah. He's
I didn't know
the
that.
voice of Bowser. So, and did you have a chance to check the trailer out?
I did, yeah.
Okay, so did you see Toad in the trailer, which is probably the best voice?
Yeah, he's the one that guides Mario at the end,
yes,
right?
that's Keegan-Michael Key.
Oh, is it? Very cool.
Right?
Yeah.
Killing it, huh? Yeah, I know, right? But anyways, moving on. Matt says,
There's not too much dialogue in that whole trailer, though, outside of Bowser, I think.
No, and that's the thing we talked about on the show last week. There's a lot of hate going on Chris Pratt's Mario voice.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, he literally says, "Mushroom Kingdom, here we come." like just almost.
I was
like
gonna
that.
say I don't even remember what Mario says. It's very little.
And right, and people are hating on this one line of dialogue, and it's like, guys, come on, give it a chance first. Let's at least.
Is it the accent? Are they making fun of the accent?
It just doesn't sound like Mario. But like as we talked about on the show, would you want an hour and a half of yoo-hoo?
Right.
You don't want that either. So I think there has to be this happy medium.
Can we let
mix.
actors act?
Right.
Are they allowed to bring
Right.
their own talent to something?
And I think that for me, it looks funny regardless. So I don't really care. And I think that you have to kind of have him sound like a person.
I agree.
With like a hint of Mario.
For 90 minutes.
Right.
Yeah, please, thank you.
For sure. But Jack Black though did sound great as Bowser. I love that. Matt says, what would you guys feel about a Tenacious D sequel?
Oh, I'd love that. I love the first film. I mean, I'm a big Jack Black fan. I love Ben Stiller's cameo in there. Kyle Gass is hilarious too. First one was such a good movie, and they play around with so many tropes. I would love to see a sequel because they would play with those sequel tropes as well.
Well, Tenacious D ain't gone nowhere. They're still right where they've always been, having fun, playing music together. So
that's true. So
they could be making a movie at any point. Jack Black's great too. We'd love to see more Jack Black. To be honest with you, I'm surprised we never got one back then when it was, Jack Black's time, when it was like every week there was a new Jack Black movie.
He was having his own Keanu sense back
then. Right. And it felt like then would have been, a good time for it. But I don't know. Tenacious D, I would want to see a sequel for it, but I would say it's not the highest on my list of Jack Black things that I would want to see a sequel for. I know a lot of people don't like some of the Jack Black movies that I probably loved as a kid, but I loved Nacho Libre. I loved recently he was in, if we're talking more recently, I loved the Goosebumps movie that he was in. Have you ever seen it? Mm-hmm. It was pretty good. It's fun, friendly, family fun, and he's just such a character. Mm-hmm. I love Jack Black as a character. But for sure, if I'm getting a Jack Black sequel, it has to be to the one where he made the poop spray.
Oh, wow. Yeah. The Envy, right?
Envy, yes. Yeah, I want it. And that Ben Stiller's in that, right? Oh, yeah. That would be awesome. That would be awesome. Like he's made a new product and moved back in across the street from him.
That's
like
pretty funny.
I would love to see that. I loved Jack Black movies when I was a kid. I think that there did hit a point where it just kind of it became exactly what Tropic Thunder kind of.
Oh yeah, it parodied.
It was right. Yeah. It became this kind of joke of itself, and but yeah, and again on that topic, if we're really gonna get a sequel to a movie that Jack Black's in, Tropic Thunder is where we want, right?
There we go.
We want to see what those guys have been up to, but yeah, let's see if we have any other questions here. I think that's it, guys. Yeah, Matt saying he would love to see a Nacho Libre sequel as well. Nacho Libre received a lot of hate. I know it's definitely one of those movies that's probably not for everybody, more of like a kid, funny family movie. Another one I really liked was the one where he was like a school teacher. Like
School
House
of Rock.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, that
movie.
was good.
Like I like that movie so much that like that and Tenacious D, we would like leave on when we were sleeping, it would be playing, and we just wake up and that movie would be on. Or there was the one Shallow Hal with you remember that one?
Yeah, that's Farrelly Brothers, wasn't it?
Right. Yeah, there was just so many in that time. Like I said, he was just on top of everything. But if you had to pick a Jack Black sequel to see, Shane, what would you pick?
Is he just in it?
Just in it. He's got to be in it and have at least, I would say, a
substantial, because my favorite Jack Black movie isn't because of Jack Black. It's just I love this movie, and it's The Cable Guy. Oh, and he plays the best friend, so it's not much of a part for him. But damn, to see Jim Carrey back as the Cable Guy, what would that be like?
I don't know, man. To see Jim Carrey back as anything, what would it be like?
Well, we saw him as Eggman, and Sonic.
Yeah,
and he was fabulous.
Cool. I mean, but it seems like he doesn't want to do as much as he used to do. It's one of my favorite. comedy movies of all time is Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. I love those series. And again, talking about IP, I mean, who wouldn't go out and see an Ace Ventura movie?
That's true. That's a strong IP right there.
Right, with him coming back in the role. I mean, it would be a blast. I mean, that's the thing. Again, though, you never know with a lot of these old IPs. You know, I would compare that along the same lines of Austin Powers. You know, it has that cachet to it that people know. Granted, Austin Powers, I think, was a little bit more recent. Goldmember was probably like 06 or something like that. So
I don't think it was that recent.
04 or maybe.
I think it was, if I had to guess, 02 would be
Okay.
my guess.
Let's
At
see.
the very latest.
Let's see. I want to say it was like 05 or something like that. 02, you're right.
02.
02. So yeah, but still, I mean, the last, you know, Ace Ventura was probably 90,
7.
right? Yeah. So,
Probably the same year as Austin
but we
Powers
never
1.
got that.
There was also
Trilogy.
that TV show. Did you ever see the cartoon,
The
Austin Powers?
animated series. Oh, I love that thing.
Yeah.
Oh God, I love it. Then there was the they did the kid. The kid.
Oh
Did you see
my
that one?
God, no! But I just remembered that it existed.
Don't see it.
Oh, never. Well, I never saw the Dumb and Dumber sequel that they did too, where they were kids. I was like, okay,
They did a Dumber Dumber where they're kids.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it takes place like when they were kids.
Hey, glad you brought it up though. But they did redo Dumb and Dumber with, and they brought back
Jeff
Jim
Daniels
Carrey
and Jim Carrey.
and that was maybe like 5 years ago, 7 years ago, and that
I never saw that.
I didn't either, but it did well.
Did
Like,
it?
I mean, I remember people went out and seen it, and it had good word of mouth. So again, you just never know with some
Never
of
know.
these like, things that were like really popular in the past. It's just kind of the world we're living in, guys. So let's see. Nancy says, "Here's Johnny." That's true. Here he is. Shane, we'll probably have to check out The Shining at some point before October's up.
Would you watch because Stephen King came out with a sequel to The Shining as a book.
Oh, Dr. Sleep. You know,
and did that ever come out on the screen?
You know, it did, and it did decently well, and it got great critic reviews, and I own it on physical media and on digital, and I still have yet to see it.
Yeah.
And it has Ewan McGregor in it.
Oh
who
yeah,
I
we love Ewan McGregor.
You know, I don't know why I didn't see that movie. That movie also came out in 2019, and I kid you not, we probably watched 4 to 5 movies in theaters a week, and
That's when you had that their membership.
I still do, but I was just fully using it then, and yeah, I don't know why we just missed Dr. Sleep. I watched so much that year, and I was honestly super stoked for it because it's a sequel to, at the time, was my favorite movie of all time. And yeah, I just never got around to watching it. But, you know, I've heard really good things about it, and I just don't think that it connected with people quite the same. You know, I don't think that that kind of IP really was as big as, you know,
Freddy
something
Krueger.
like- yeah, right. Or, you know, Hellraiser or whatever. But yeah, I mean,
You know, before we're talking about IPs, horror IPs, my wife blew my mind the other night. We were talking about horror IPs. So you got, Jason, you got the Freddys, you got the Michael Myers. So all these horror movies are dependent on their villains. Hellraiser, you got Pinhead. But when you got like Sam Raimi's Evil Dead, it's Ash. It's the hero. The hero's the through line, and that's very rare. I don't know if I can think of another horror franchise that follows the hero and not the villain.
That's a great point.
I know, right? And
Oh,
The
man.
Shining could potentially be something like that, where you'd probably follow a Jack Torrance over the Overlook Ghosts.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. That's a great point, though. That there isn't the. Yeah. But yeah. So we should check out Dr. Sleep if we're gonna do anything in October. We should check out Dr. Sleep since both of us haven't seen it. Nancy says she's going to see Smile today. Awesome. Let us know what you think. Come back tomorrow. Tell us how Smile was. We're excited about Smile. We're excited people are going out to see it, and we can't wait to hear more people talk about it. Nancy also says the puppet Master movies used to freak her out when she was a kid.
I remember those.
Those movies were a little weird.
I've even seen a few of the newer ones. There was one that takes place like in Germany, like in 1880, and yeah, it was this
newer. What define
like
that?
04, 06,
Okay.
something like
Okay.
that. You know, not the 90s one, but
Right.
I was surprised they were still making them, and it wasn't too bad for its budget.
That's good. Yeah, I remember those movies. I also remember like the Wishmaster or Wish. Yeah, that reminds me of those kind of things. Those are good. Nancy also asked, "What about Trilogy of Terror?" I've never even heard of that.
That's is that
She
the?
says it's old school.
Yeah, that's the Roger Corman. One of them has Edgar Allan Poe. Which one is it? Is it the Black Cat? I think's in that, but it's an old Roger Corman, 57, I think. It's one of the first American horror anthology films to kind of break it into the market and get people excited about the anthology film. So it's like the grandfather of all American horror anthology, at least on a movie,
Sweet. Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Nancy. That's cool. I should look into that. I mean, I'm always interested in any horror I haven't seen during October and Halloween time. Matt also mentions that he didn't know that there was a sequel to The Shining. Yeah, Matt, you should check it out. You should check out Dr. Sleep. It looks like a great movie. I think now that we've been talking about it, I think I'm going to check it out maybe in the next couple of days. And I'll let you guys know what I think. But definitely, Nancy, let us know what you think of Smile, and hopefully we're able to get out to the theater sometime this week, and we can give you guys our thoughts and opinions on Smile too. So, but yeah, guys, it looks like that's it. I don't see any more comments or questions for comments in the comment section. But listen, guys, we got a lot of people chatting today. We really appreciate all the love in the channel and all the questions. It's fun to do this show, but hands down, the funnest part is interacting with you guys, taking your guys' questions. We love those kind of things. Hopefully we get to a point at some point where you guys can be the ones that send in main topics, and we can choose your guys' main topics to talk about. But until then, be sure to ask your any questions you guys got down into the comments section. Whenever we do these live streams, you can ask anytime. We'll go through at the end and make sure we try to get through all of them. And we're sorry if we miss anybody, but yeah, again, guys, thanks for joining us today. It's Monday. It's a beautiful day out where we live. Hopefully it's nice where you guys are. Go out and enjoy the day. I mean, again, it's October 10th now, guys, so we only got a couple more weeks of October. Those pumpkin patches are open. Those places where people are chasing people with chainsaws for money are open, and they want your money, and you want to be chased by a dude with a chainsaw. It's just that time of year. So anyway, guys, be sure to join us again tomorrow on the show. We'll be here again talking about all new stuff. So, Shane, you were awesome today, man.
Hey, thanks. You too, buddy.
It was great having you.
I think it's because we're both rocking the DC
Yeah,
shirts.
for sure.
That will never happen, I bet, again.
That was not planned, people. That was not planned. And there will not be a lot of times you see this guy on this show wearing this kind of T-shirt. So, but I do have the Flash shirt. I just got it, so you'll see him around. I do like the Flash. It's not that I don't like DC characters. It's that, I don't want a Nightwing shirt.
Oh, come on. Dick Grayson, he's the best. It's Nightwing.
I think...
when people do that, it's because of Nightwing.
They're
Nightwing.
like opening there's like a big NW.
Super Who?
Right. Bat what? Yeah. No, I like DC, but not enough to buy a bunch of DC T-shirts and wear them around.
Oops.
I do have a few Marvel shirts, but I try to wear something that embodies, what we like to be about on the channel. And obviously Shane does too. And I'm glad we have the Nightwing shirt. When Trevor was here over the weekend, Shane, I don't know if you heard, but one of the questions we had from one of our audience members was, who's your favorite DC character? And that was his favorite character, was Nightwing.
Very cool.
That's scary.
We need to have a conversation. He's the original Robin, and he grew up. How many comic characters have had a chance to age and become somebody else?
Yeah, that's true. But like we were talking about, he was like, I hope they can bring Nightwing into the Batman or something. Like, well, it just doesn't work, right? Because you can't have this guy running around with a 10-year-old murdering people and stuff. as cool as it would. Nightwing's cool. I don't have a problem with Nightwing, but you know that I hate unpowered superheroes.
Like Batman.
Yes.
You hate Batman.
I'm not the biggest fan of Batman. I'm not. I love Batman, the movie, the Batman.
But not the character.
But I prefer, my superheroes to be super powered.
So you need midichlorians. You need something to tell me that not everybody can be special.
Shane.
It has to be born.
Shane, are we gonna say it live on air that you're just jealous that I have more midichlorians than you?
Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
That's got to be it.
Absolutely.
But anyways, guys, it's been a blast. Again, join us tomorrow. We'll be here again, 10 o'clock, talking about fun stuff, hanging out. Make sure you send stuff in the chat. We'll try to get the show posted a little bit earlier for tomorrow so you guys can send in questions earlier. You can send them in all throughout the night, and we'll still answer them tomorrow. So, guys, thanks again for joining us. It's been too real. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks a lot, guys.